Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Winning Minds. Winning Minds is powered by Women Inspiring Network, and we are a paid forward movement trying to bring together content creators, authors, writers, artists from different walks of life, from different parts of the world, and trying to unpack their stories and trying to see if we can learn and take lessons from them. So today we have a wonderful session called The Show Must Go On. And I have three very dynamic participants here. So let me just introduce them. Dolly Tarkour, theatre actor, casting director, and curator. Dolly, of course, has been a doyen of Indian theatre for many, many years, decades, and people do know her. She's been one of the common things that binds our three panelists together is that they have done the vagina monologues and we will talk more about it later. So welcome, Dolly.
It's amazing how people forget that theatre is the least of the things in terms of priority for me. While I love it and I spend all my time doing it, but once been in communications and media, and that's where I spent my whole life. Theatre was always after 6 o'clock in the evening.
That's true. We've got Dilnaz Irani, who's a film and theatre actor. And, she was there in Jodha Akbar. She's been there in multiple, television serials. And she's a theatre actor, with plays in Prithvi and in many other, locations, right? And so welcome, Dilnaz.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Amrita.
And we've got Ritu Bhatia, who's a playwright and a screenplay writer. And she's written multiple movies. She's written, TV series. And I'm just, reading Mentalhood, which came out recently about parenting and many others, right? So welcome, Ritu.
Thank you.
So, our topic today really is to try to understand theatre, what's happening. And theatre has changed a lot, through the ages in terms of the kinds of stories that people are telling, the way stories are being told, the format, the venues. A lot of things have, changed. And there's been
Can I just ask one thing? Why is Ritu not on my panel on the gallery?
Are you on the phone, Dolly, or are you on a laptop?
I'm on a laptop. Well, you are now on my big screen, but you're not on my gallery. While Amrita and Dilnaz are there, but you
have to change the view on top. Are you on speaker view or gallery view? On the right hand
silly things like that. You think I'm that educated?
No. Okay, so there will be a little thing on top on the right hand side.
On the right.
On your Zoom window on the right hand side, it will be written speaker view. It will be written gallery view. Can you see that?
No, nothing written there. I have Zoom meeting is using the webcam.
Okay.
And then I've got myself and I've got Dilnaz and I've got Amrita. But I haven't got Ritu.
There's a little icon called View, Dolly. Just click on that.
I'm sorry, I'm delaying everybody. I can't see any view. No, there's nothing called view on mine. See, I've got now. You're on my big screen.
Because I'm talking. Yeah. So if you go on the top right corner, there'll be a the icon, like a grid icon. So you can maybe click the grid icon, and then all four of us will be on.
I've got this icon, which is the full screen icon. But even then,
yeah, but next to the full screen icon, there is a grid.
I've got you there now.
Yeah,
you're there now. Yeah.
You're just seeing the problems with modern theatre.
Absolutely. Fantastic. So now we are all back. Right?
We're all in the same frame
now. This Zoom meeting is using webcam because it's obstructing half the faces of Ritu and Amrita. So how do I get rid of that?
No, so when we speak, Dolly, you'll be able to hear us because it automatically puts the person who's...
Then I get you full screen on my... yeah, okay.
Absolutely. So they will...
Viewers and listeners, please forgive me. I'm not as smart as all of you. technologically not as smart as all of you.
No. You've picked it up in the last year, right? I mean, we all have picked it up in the last year. It didn't exist in our vocabulary a year back. So that's fantastic. So, that's the other change that has happened. A lot of you, and I was talking to Dilnaz, and she was talking about how Zoom has changed how she was doing theater, and she's been able to connect with people and so on. So, we'll explore some of that through our discussion today. But let's just begin a little bit with your personal journeys. And given the focus in India, there is, how did you decide to pursue a career in the arts, or how did you actually start doing art, and performing arts um, professionally? So let's go back a little bit into your personal journeys. How did it all start? Was it out of love? Who were your mentors? What were the decision points? So maybe Dolly, should we begin with you, and then we'll.
I would love to, but I've gone off my screen completely. In fact, except for you, and that also is a small little thing. There is no Zoom on my. What do I do?
But we can see you.
We can see.
Yeah, we can see you.
We can see you, Dolly.
I'd like to see myself talking and what I'm saying. So I can see Ritu just one, and when Dilnaz spoke, I got her as one, and I got Amrita when she spoke. But right now, the whole thing gone off. I don't know. Are there certain things I need to press to get everybody on? I have no idea.
No, it's that same speaker view and gallery view that you have to put. Otherwise, we are all there.
I've got a WhatsApp on. Let me cancel this WhatsApp thing, perhaps. No, a Zoom meeting is using the webcam, and I've only got Ritu on my screen right now.
Well, let's begin with Ritu. If she's on the screen, let's begin with Ritu. Ritu, take us through your journey a little bit.
Well,
I'd like to talk about Ritu because I met her through Vagina Monologue, and Vagina Monologue is very much mine and the English one. And then when Ritu came, she took over the whole thing. She made us come alive with a Hindi version, which we were not that familiar with. And what a brilliant translation and adaptation she did of that. Now she gets socks.
Thank you. And the thing is that it's actually funny because I was an assistant director. I went to film school and I did a lot of you do a lot of theater in Delhi in colleges. I was in Lady Shri Ram College. So automatically school, college, I used to, my parents used to joke because I used to literally dress up my siblings in muchis and crowns and make them do theater. So I guess somewhere we all had it, right? And then I went to Lady Shri Ram College and we had a lot of exposure to dramatics. We had people like Piyush Mishra, Arvind Gaur come and teach us. So obviously there was a tendency. And it's interesting that when I was in my third year is when Eve Ensler's book had come out. We were studying politics, we were studying feminist literature, so we studied her. And it was so exciting, that book, and I had never read anything like it. Now, this is when I'm 19 years old. I come to Mumbai, I start working as an assistant director. I was working on Tare Zameen Par. And I gave Mahabano a call because I had seen them perform the Vagina Monologues in English, the whole team, Dolly and Mahabano and Jayati, the original Avantika, and Sonali was also in it. And I called them for Sonali's number for Tare Zameen Par to cast her. And Mahabano's, Mahabano is a legend. She's like, listen, do you want to write this in Hindi? Are you good at Hindi? I'm like, really? It's my dream come true only. Like, how has this universe conspired that you are asking me to write the very play that I would die to write? Like, how has this happened? And she said, no, I'm just worried that Hindi, everybody will feel so icky about it. And I said, listen, Hindi is not an icky language. It's just that we're too anglicized. I'll do it for you. I'll make it non-icky, if that's even a word. And I pulled in Joydeep Sarkar, who's my co-writer on this, and we started writing, and the rest is history.
That's fantastic. And I think, Hindi has allowed it to go to so many more people, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very empowering because it's in your own language. You're so, and I currently am writing for web, I write for films, I write for TV. I flit between media all the time. And you recognize and understand the power of the language to reach out. We are all studied in English medium schools, we've all studied in English medium colleges. They're so anglicized
Mhm.
that but when you perform, I mean, will tell you all the stories of performing in bastis in front of police women of Maharashtra, and various other shows where you perform for an audience that would not come to a Prithvi to watch, and it has connected with them in such a great way. Anyway, so yeah, so that's a little bit of my journey. I was associate on Tare Zameen Par and on other films, and then Vagina Monologues happened. Aisha happened, the film. And then I've been, working full time as a writer, producer, sometimes a creative producer.
Fantastic. Dilnaz, I would love to hear a little bit more about your story. You started mentioning, like, the transition that you did. So take us through a little bit of that.
Sure. So I by profession, I'm a software engineer. I did my BE in electronic engineering and worked as a software programmer for the next 4 years and all of that.
And we were in such awe of her when she told us that.
Yeah, so but I started doing theater even before that, yeah, I think I was so confused as a child as to what I wanted to become when I grew up. I wanted to be these bizarre, extreme things, and I realized if I become an actor, I can play all of it, so I can become all of it. So honestly, that is how I wanted to be an actor. But the problem is that if you're like a 90% student, I mean, I come from a middle class, normal family, and I was told that you can't do acting. What is acting? That's not a profession. I mean, because no one in my family was from that profession, or, they had no idea. They were like, no, you have to have security and make money, and you can't waste your 90% on acting, I was like, okay, so engineering then happened. But along with that, I was doing theater, So I started doing theater, I think, when I just passed out of 12th standard when I was in Xavier's. So, I mean, there were times when I've written like half university papers, and then like my college was in Chembur, I had a university final paper from 3 to 6, and I had a play opening. I remember this play, I think it was 6 Degrees of Separation that I was doing with Rage Productions at that time. So like I sat from 3 to 4:30, gave half the paper, ran to Chembur station, took a train. My dad was waiting on the bike at VT station to then, ride me to NCPA for the opening. So literally that's how I've done my engineering, and I think it's all because of the, that bug of theater. It's still not gone. Like even now, sometimes I give up on shoots and stuff like that because I have a theater rehearsal. I cannot do anything else. So yeah, that's been my journey or entry into the theater world, and yeah.
That's fantastic because you need that, drive and that, passion, which then takes you through.
That's the only thing that takes you because there's no money in it. There's no security in it. So the only thing that keeps you going is that, that love, the drive, the passion. It's yeah.
That's
Okay,
fantastic.
I'd like to share mine because I don't come from a family that is creative in any way. When my own maternal family, and so theater and all is beyond their thinking even. But the schools I went to had inter-class, inter-college, inter-university plays and things. And somehow I was always selected to take part in those. I didn't push myself. I'm not a pushy person. But somehow I always got selected for those. So I've been on the stage since the age of 5. And I loved it so much that I've never gone up and said, I want to be in this play or I want to do this play. But people have come to me. And as a result of that, I've had such a varied experience with people from in all the Air Force camps that I went to. Forgive me. Because my father was in the Air Force, so we traveled a great deal all over India. And in all the schools and colleges that I went to, and they were all at that time, English-speaking Jesuit convent kind of school, and even the college I went to was Loreto Convent. That's where it all started. That got me involved in broadcasting. And then I did a lot of All India Radio broadcasting. I did the external services broadcasting. Then I did book reviews for Voice of America. You know, all growing up as a teenager. My teenagers was when I was like 18 and 19 and 20. I didn't start at 13 and 14. 13 and 14, you were still in school, unrecognized, but doing a lot in school itself. But suddenly, as one entered the field, it wasn't professional, but it was lovely to be recognized. When I went to London, I went to and worked for the BBC there for almost 4 years. And even there, the community, the Indian community, all got together. And at that time, they were using all of us as just a supporting cast for their serials or, a little bit of the program. And so we did that, but it wasn't great professional recognition. And yet the people who were with me in that were people like Zora Sehgal, Saeed Jafri, who are all pretty well known for those that are in the theatre and who know theatre from the years that I know theatre. And that's how I started. And then I came to Bombay and I went to see Kabir Bedi and I, who I've known for years and years and years. We were in Delhi together. We had done our All India Radio auditions together. So it was a stepping stone to all the things. It's not something that what's happening today that people recognize your talent and call you up. It isn't like the Hindi films where they see you and say, she will do very well in that, even though I'm a casting director. But I was the one who started casting people from the theatre, almost the first one to have cast people in the film Gandhi, all from theatre. They went on to become great actors, and some of them had done one or two films even before that. But it's so everything has come to me through just my love for it and people acknowledging and recognizing the energy that I had for it. So my advice to all the young people, though they have all the advantages today of the drama schools and the NSD and the training projects that various actors have gone into, I had none of that. Mine was all through trial and error. And I succeeded. I'm very happy to be where I am. And I would say, don't let anything stop you. Just because you haven't been selected for any great show or any great institution doesn't mean that you should stop doing something that you love and that you want to do.
No, that's fantastic. You throw your energy out into the world and then the universe responds, right?
That's right. Absolutely. I mean, I believe in that. I don't know, the world has changed so much, whether that's still there. I would think it is still there. I do believe in people and I do believe in people recognizing talent.
Yeah, so that's a good segue into the next, thing that I wanted to ask each one of you. The arts are an amorphous field. It's not a structured, path that you rise up the ranks in a traditional, business environment or a corporate environment and so on. So you really, have to create your network, right? As an artist, you have to create a network. As a content writer, you have to create your networks. And, those networks are your peers, they might be producers, they might be patrons, so there is many different kinds of stakeholders that you need to engage with, right? And you have to still craft your own journey and your own path through that, yeah. So how do you?
Can I speak before the others take over on this? But then remember that I'm speaking from a whole different generation. But then I was the first auctioneer of art in India. I mean, you've now got all the OCEANs and the others that have come on. But I was the first one, which I did art auctions for, and I've loved that. but it mixed my talents of being able to hold the audience, communicate with them, learn about art. I mean, I was introduced, I knew every great artist that my generation would remember. I don't know whether any of you remember, but all the Hussains and the Tayyabs and the Akbars and all those, I knew them quite well. And I was familiar with them and familiar with their work. And I've auctioned their work. So it's a gift. I mean, my love for art started from there, not from being a painter myself. I can't hold a pencil to draw a straight line if I have. But so everything that I've done has fallen in my lap. And I'm very happy to say that people have recognized that and continue to invite me to host various things. And that has given courage to a lot of young people to also do the same. I mean, after me came Rajat Kapoor and uh, all the other people that have followed in the line. So they are good 20 years younger than me, perhaps. But I was about to set an example to all of them.
It was a different bomb. You know, it was a completely different city, back then. And, like you said, that it's so much more fluid. You meet people organically at various. I remember when I'd first come to Bombay, and this was in like 96 or something, I was still in school. And, and there, the Mami festivals would had just started happening, and festivals, and you would meet people there and everything. Now everything is so cut and dry. You can live a whole career just staying in your own home, you know.
It's the Zoom generation that we have been in the last year.
Some people that works great. I mean, I'm an introvert and I love it that I don't have to sit and network.
The networking is different, and like I can connect with like thousands of people on Facebook and Instagram, and sometimes I meet them and they look, in real life, and you're like, oh, is that how we know each other, like online? But what I'm trying to say is that it's quite romantic in the sense that the way Dolly is saying that that she would need the art was just beginning in India, auctioning art galleries. Nobody really knew, and it was all happening. It's always for me. I always like that era, that time, and it just like now it's so drastically different.
Well, even with Vagina Monologue, let me just stop. Eve Ensler's book had just come out, and there was a newspaper called the Sunday Observer in Mumbai, which had just started. And I was asked to review the book. So, in fact, I've still got that review. It's a half-page review that they gave me. I wrote a half-page review of Vagina Monologue. And I wanted to do it as a play. But I didn't have the knowledge or the know-how of a producer and how to go about. I didn't have the script, except that I'd read in the Time magazine or Newsweek that Goldie Hawn, Jane Fonda, they had done it in America. So, and Goldie Hawn happened to be visiting India at the time, and she was a guest of Parameshwar Godrej's. Now, look, I'm going back into history, but forgive me for that. I thought not indulge in all of that. And so I wrote to Parameshwar, who I did know personally, and I said, look, there's this Vagina Monologue, a play, and Goldie Hawn is here. Can I get in touch with her and find out how they did it in America? And the idea was to get Parameshwar to then produce it. But she gave me Goldie Hawn's fax number, but I never got a reply back from Goldie Hawn, and it all fell through because you can imagine one was not that ambitious and pushing to pursue it to the end. And a year and a half later, suddenly the doorbell rang, and it was Mahabana Modi Kotwal at my door, saying, let's do Vagina. I've come to talk to you about Vagina Monologue. I didn't know, I mean, yes, I had cast her with something, so I didn't know her name. And she said, so we sat down and I said, Mama, two old women talking about their vaginas is not going to be very attractive. So I got in Tiki, a character, and she got in Jayati Bhatia.
Okay.
And then it grew from there. And I must say, we had a terrific team and we worked brilliantly for many years. And then all the young ones who joined us, like Dilnaz Irani, just took over the show. I mean, we were all so, everyone has contributed a hell of a lot towards making Vagina Monologue a success.
No,
And the whole world has changed. It's amazing how we are recognized at airports, at restaurants, and just to go on about Vagina Monologue, the first day that we did that at the Prithvi Theatre, an 80-year-old man came and touched my feet. I mean, I was not younger then, but he touched my feet and said, "Thank," because remember, this was 2003. And he said, "I am so glad to be alive that I'm seeing the Indian woman grow to this standard, to this level." That's how we've opened up the minds of people. We've had, which Dilnaz will remember, we've had people celebrating their engagements on stage with us in the cast. We've had people come and celebrate their wedding anniversary. We've had people come and say, after seeing this, we had the guts to say no to violence, to abuse. I mean, so it's opened up people's minds terrifically. So, and with the Hindi one, we have Ritu time because we've had over a dozen shows with people from Dharavi, and we've done it in the Dharavi slum. And the response we got from that was amazing. And it taught us a great deal. We used to organize shows at Jai Hind College at 11:30 in the morning. And we hired buses to bring the working women from Dharavi, from Mazagaon, from Batunga, but they would turn up at 1:30 and we'd be all dressed and waiting to be able to get on stage. And then when we'd ask them what happened, they said, "What do you think? We are like you. We've got to cook lunch, we've got to make tapas, we've got to do all that." Then come. So they were only free after 1 o'clock to come and attend the show. So, we learned how to respect them. We learned how to communicate with them. Yeah, it has been an amazing experience.
Some of the stories that they came and told us, Dolly, do you remember, after the shows were just, I mean, they were just heart-wrenching. And I mean, it was just, yeah. Those were some great shows.
So going back to the, you said you hate networking, Dilnaz. So how do you navigate the ecosystem?
Honestly,
challenge.
I navigated badly. In fact, as a web series show that I'm doing right now also, and we were staying at a location, and I used to just go there, do my job when I was doing, and then go back and not socialize. And I have other actors tell me that you need to network and you need to social. And now with the whole social network, that's another whole ball game that I can't do. But I've done it. I mean, I've managed so far. I genuinely believe that work begets work. I genuinely believe that if I do my best and, it'll happen. People will see my work and call me. Mm-hmm. And of course, there are times when I feel terrible and when I make an effort to network and I realize that I'm just so unhappy doing that. It's just not me. So there are good days and bad days. There are some times when I have a drink of wine and I'll be at a party trying to network, but I suck at it. So I'm trying to draw a balance. I'm still trying. Sure. And let's hope I keep improving with the network. I'm going to take tips from Dolly. Dolly Auntie is the best person to take tips from. With such ease, she talks to everyone. I admire that, I was like, wow, I just don't know what to say.
Now you know why I love the young ones.
Yeah, Dolly, I can imagine you swanning into different circles and sort of swanning out.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I've seen her in action, and lots of tips to pick up. I'm like Dilnaz. I'm terrible at networking, but as a writer, I can get away with it. you know.
How has your writing, you can be a solitary writer, but eventually you have to engage with producers, directors, right? Like, you have to. So, how has your process of engagement been?
The thing is that it depends. I call myself a writer for hire. A lot of people approach me with a project, and then I sit and develop it for them. And I have a huge list of projects that I want to develop for myself, but somehow they keep going at the bottom of the pile because there's other people who come in and say, "Ye karte hain, ye karte hain," and you end up doing all of that. For me, it begins with a team, or at least a one more mind.
Sure.
So it's not bad. There are difficult days. There are very, very difficult days on which you don't know that your vision is not being carried through at all. But it's all collaborative. Eventually, you have to be open to it. Kaizad and I had done a couple of plays for Cathedral, the school.
Okay.
And we came up with the most absurd ideas. We just threw it at each other, like highly ambitious, undoable, unchewable things, but then something great came out of it. And the best part was to interact with those 16, 15, 14-year olds. They come up with such amazing, you just have to be a sponge. You just have to take it all in, when they're giving it to you. And so some collaborations are joyful like that, or like the vagina monologues where we would all just sit and I remember I used to say, I'll come all the way from Yari Road to Churchgate, but what am I eating? So there was Parsi food made for me, and I would come and all, and and then we would be the first few rehearsals and all. Back in the day we did in Prithvi also, and I was a part of it. Then of course the girls ran with it and they made it their own, and I would just join once in a while. But so those collaborations are always joyful. The bigger issues are now the corporates, where you go and you submit a Bible and then you do the development of the project. It's a process. It's fine. It's not so bad. Forever.
Yeah, it's like, circles and circles. So you started talking about how you had to make the vagina monologues non-icky. So let's get into the writing part of it first, and then we'll get into the acting part of it. So the stories also got localized, right? So tell me a little bit about that particular process. It's not just translation; it was a lot more than that.
Yeah. So when they adapted vagina monologues in English, when they performed it, Dolly, Mahabanu, Tiki, and Jayati, they even at that time the stories were localized. The language was still English, but the Marathi story was Marathi. There was a Marathi woman. So they did accents. They did do a lot of localization already.
Sure.
So my job, of course, was to make it like really desi, to really take it to the lowest common denominator in that sense, and yet not change. But the thing is that's the thing, that we can be any age, and our vaginas are the same, and so our stories are the same. And we can be in any geography, and rape is rape in any geography. Sexual awakening is the same in any landscape. you know uh, all we had to do was adapt it. um, uh, I When I knew that I'm writing this show, that this play, and I went to I was on my way back to Jaipur, from Jaipur, or one of the two things, and I was at the old airport of Jaipur. Now it's very swanky and all, but it was one of those ekdam wo ek hi kamra and all. And there was this bookshop, जैसे रेलवे स्टेशन पे होती है वैसे एयरपोर्ट पे भी बुक शॉप होती थी. And at that bookshop, there was a book called Sex Kya Hai. It was a sexologist's question answer book. And it had this very strange photo on it. And I said, this book I want, because I want to know the words for the vagina,
Sure.
and for all other lady parts. And I picked up that book, and that man was looking at me like, what is this 20 something doing picking up this book? And I didn't even bother to cover it. I was reading it and laughing throughout the flight or the train journey or wherever I was. I can't remember. But the other exercise that I did was that I called up all of my girlfriends, And I said, call up your grandmothers, your nannies, and your daddies, and your, great grandmothers if they're alive, and your buajis.
Lovely.
Let's find out from them the colloquial use of the word vagina, or the colloquial use of the word sexual orgasm, or whatever. And they came up with not just words and vocabulary for me, but just hilarious stories. So that was the first sort of basis of how we started writing, especially things like the first story, which is the Monique Bal, which is the hair, which is the pubic hair, and how and what all the myths surrounding it and what happens. That was one of those stories that came directly from a nonna, like literally it came from somebody's grandmother. And you realize that those stories are inherent. You may not be the same narrative. I may take the narrative from what Eve is written.
Mhm.
They are so they're your and mine stories. So it was a great process for me.
And Amrita, in the interaction with the audience, we realized that a lot of women came backstage and said they have been all women who said we've resisted coming to see Vagina Monologue for 10 years, 12 years. And they said, because they couldn't find anybody to accompany them. And it wasn't a done thing in those days for women to come alone to the theatre, and particularly the places that we were performing in. And but it was amazing how it opened up and gave them courage to then come alone, then bring their neighbors. And a lot of friends and relatives then kept coming to the show. And it opened up their mind that we've had fantastic stories. I don't know whether Ritu was there when one of the girls fainted during the show. Dilnaz.
Yeah.
And so we stopped the show for a second. We took her into the dressing room, and then we came back and we continued the show. And apparently, it was a show about sexual abuse. And it triggered off her memory, and it overwhelmed her so much that she fainted. Almost a year later, we went to Delhi with the play. And a woman from the audience came up to us, a young woman, and she said, I want to introduce myself. Do you remember the girl who fainted at your show in Bombay? And we said, of course we remember, because we had to stop the show for that time. And she said, that was my sister. So, where the links come, and they were so touching. They were so moving. We have converted a lot of people. We have won over the hearts of a lot of people. And I love the campaign that we entered on, and we conquered many hearts. And it's a terrific thing that Ritu, the way she translated it for all of us, has been wonderful. So we've been able to reach out so many.
Tell me some of those the stories in the bastis, right? You started telling the heart-wrenching stories in the bastis.
Well, as I said, those women told us about domestic violence, how much of that exists in their, and without complaining. They say, हाँ बहुत मारता है हमारा मर्द हमको, और इधर को मेरा हाथ तोड़ दिया था इधर से, and they would share this, but when it's focused and put into a story the way that we do it in Vagina Monologue, it's amazing the effect it has on people. And the number of hands that would then go up, because we'd have a full house wherever we were performing the Hindi one. And all these women who were sitting with their legs up, and some of them came with their babies in their arms, and they were breastfeeding them while the show was going on. But they were the ones who were putting their hands up and sharing stories about what the mothers-in-law preventing them from doing various things, having to go out to work, how hard they work. All the discrimination that has existed, the gender discrimination that has existed. And it's all so true and so real that I must say it has changed my respect for women, and changed, and the way I look at men today. opened up my mind a great.
So 2003 to 2021, like I think it's been a while, right? So, Dilnaz, what do you see, when you see the younger women in the audience and how they engage with you and with the story?
I joined the Vagina Monologues much later. I was not there in the beginning with the initial cast. In fact, then the whole Hindi adaptation happened. I was not there in that also. It's been, I think I joined it 10 years back, which would be around 2010 is when I started. And I started with the Hindi and then went on to the English. Uh, it's the, even with the younger generation, I mean, of course, there are some cool younger generations for whom it's very easy. But the normal middle class, even they used to find it so difficult to say the word, let's say, truth.
Yes.
Or there is one bit in the Hindi in which I have to abuse to the audience and I have to call them mother chot. I mean, now I'm able to say it. But I remember when I joined it, we used to do rehearsals with Ma Banu and we were just doing readings at Prithvi Cafe. And I had a hang up. Like, I forget anything. I was like, I can say it in English, but I can't say it in Hindi. And I got a big firing from Ma Banu. Like, what do you mean you can't say it in Hindi? And then I was like, very like a mouse. I'm like, can I say bencho? She was like, no, you will say mother chot. And I was like, okay. So, I mean, even an actor sometimes finds it so difficult. So for people in the audience, sometimes it was like, oh, whoa, And even when I used to sometimes, like I was shooting for a show, and when I used to tell them, why don't you come watch the play? And I mean, the young people out there also, they wouldn't say which in fact, sorry, I'm going to digress. I was walking on the road once and there was a guy who came up and stopped me saying, ma'am, maine aapko dekha hai. I said, I didn't think he recognized me for theater. I was like, some shoot something. Nahi, wo play mein dekha hai. I was like, which play? Kaun sa? He's like, madam, wo wala play. He couldn't say vagina monologues. He couldn't, ma'am, wo monologue. And of course, I was like, let me have some fun. I'm like, kaun sa monologue? Like I was so trying to, नहीं ma'am, वो monologue play है ना, आप वो 5 लड़कियां. He couldn't say, and it was a young guy, talking to me. They couldn't say it, and I remember like after each of the shows, the feeling of liberation,
Sure.
and you can sense it. You can sense it because there's one piece that we do, the truth song, in the Hindi one, and when I'm performing it, and the audience, the house lights are on normally during that song, and you can see the cringing in the beginning, and at the end of it, we make them all shout truth, and it's such a liberating. You can just feel the energy change, So that's just.
Yeah, I'd like to intercede and just say that, we haven't been allowed to perform at Sophia College or at St. Andrews because they say, change the word vagina. You call it the monologues, even though vagina is mentioned, I think, 150 times in the script. They said, we don't mind that, but don't advertise it as a vagina monologue. So we still got even the educated upper classes with these hang-ups that they have about it. So we haven't been able
Catholic
to.
Church.
Yeah.
It's
Not necessarily that. I mean, I in Jaipur, my school wanted to do. They were doing this 75th year, and they were doing like a very like so many programs to commemorate it. And so we were in talks that we could take the play there and everything. They're like, can't you call it something else? I'm like, you're a woman.
Exactly. Yeah.
School, a liberal ass woman's school. We were started by Maharani Gayatri Devi to get rid of the parda. Like, come on, people. It is, you all have it. Look down. It is there. It has not disappeared. But your Dolly's right. You can come inside and watch it and enjoy the live performance, but you don't want to tell people
can't talk about it.
this is what you're going for.
Hmm.
In fact, and this is, I mean, because we live in a very strange society, and like I said, that I had this habit of picking up books from random places, and once I wanted to pick up Simone de Beauvoir's Second Sex, And the guy who was selling it to me also tried to give me some pulp sleazy novel saying ये भी देख लीजिए वैसी ही है. It's like no. So
You're a pornographic reader.
Bichari Simone de Beauvoir. Like, what's happening to her? And but it's that's who we are inherently. We want to hide everything.
But do you think men have changed? The male audiences, like, Dolly mentioned one person who reacted, but have you seen other examples of men and the mind shift?
When they come and watch, once they start watching, I've noticed the change, right? From like the last said that, they start cringing, and then, by the end of it, everybody's having a great time because it's that kind of empowering play. It's not a man aiding or anything. We barely mention men. Like what the hell are men doing? I mean, in the play, men are mentioned how many times? Like maybe in a couple of stories. It's about women, but some of them end up having a great time. I don't know whether you guys have had any bad experiences in performances where somebody's come and moral policed you, but I've
Not
never.
moral policing, but because it's about abuse, and abuse, there's the second party, there's the perpetrator, right? And the perpetrator is probably from the mindset, the social conditioning that we have had, right? So is that do you see that come out
But
anywhere?
Amrita, I keep telling people also, it's not male bashing, it's women celebrating.
Sure.
And there's a huge difference. And I think, as Ritu said, when they don't know enough about it, they would think, yes, it's male bashing.
Sure.
But once they know enough about it, they realize you're not even there in our scheme of thought.
And
it's women celebrating.
The barometer to measure that is the number of males that come on stage after we perform and talk to us and congratulate us. I mean, after every play, we've had a number of male members of the audience come up. I'm sure Dilnaz knows how many we've had.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, obviously that is bringing some change in the mindset of the men also. And now they talk about it openly. Now there's certainly in our circle, nobody hesitates to say vagina monologue, or I've acted in vagina monologue, or come and see vagina monologue. It's become a very common parlance. It's sad that now for almost 2 years of the COVID and we haven't had a show, whether they've reverted back and receded back into their little cocoons, I hope not. But,
We'll have to do a series of 100 more shows now. Once it opens
So
up.
let's talk about the COVID days. I mean, what have you, Dilnaz, you were mentioning that you were doing, some plays during COVID times and rehearsing with people and rehearsing, so share with us a little bit of what was happening, what kind of plays, was it different?
So I've done a lot. I mean, strangely, a lot of theatre has happened for me, at least in the last 1 year also. Right from doing a rehearsing on Zoom, recording it, and then having a show of it, to certain people like Dolly Tarkour was like, no, that's not theatre if it's not live. But we were like, we'll have technical difficulties, and that's like, we'll take a chance. It has to be live. So to doing a live show on Zoom, to there was one show in which all of us did COVID tests, and then we rehearsed for a day and then actually met up and shot for a day. Then for Jairangam Festival, also we did a show, so we rehearsed and actually met. And then there was another play which was recorded. So
what was the lunch girls?
Sorry,
Lunch girls.
Yes, with which we did it live. I mean, last year, just because one wanted to do something, one was very excited to watch theatre happening and doing it. But this year, if you ask me, I'm someone approached me and I was like, dude, it's not the same. It's not theatre. I mean, is it theatre? It just, the energy is not there. In fact, this year I don't even want to. I get a notice or watch my Zoom play, and I'm like, I don't want to watch it. And I don't want to do it. I just want to be back on a live space, in a space too.
Okay, guys, I know I'm generations older than all of you, but please let me tell you, in an hour's time, I have a Zoom rehearsal of a play that I'm acting in right now. And it's going to be, opening night is on the 5th of September.
Okay.
It's to celebrate the International Day of Cerebral Palsy.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's about cerebral palsy. It's written by Meher Pestunji,
Okay.
and it's directed by Sumit Roy, who's a director from Calcutta.
Okay.
And the two actors in the play are, one is from Karnataka, Bangalore, and one is in South India,
Okay.
in Chennai or Trivandrum, I can't remember. But we're doing it on Zoom. So it's quite an unusual and a strange experience for me. Today is our third rehearsal, but one's learning, and it's amazing how much communication there is, how we are getting to know each other through visuals rather than the personal touch of sitting in. Have you heard? I went there, I did this, I ate this. But like before in rehearsal, we're all sitting together and having coffee and having a drink and having sharing cakes and birthdays and all the rest of it. All that personal touch is missing, but it's still equally exciting, for lack of anything else, I suppose,
Yes.
to do it on
Yes.
Zoom.
Yes. I mean, thank God for the visual,
Absolutely.
the
Yeah.
video platforms, because, yeah, otherwise, we would all have been solitary in our homes.
Absolutely. And I hope that you'll all watch it when we are on air. But because it's for a very good cause, and superb people in it. Very well written.
And it's absolutely fantastic that you've you're doing the Zoom play as well, Dolly. Yeah.
You're embracing the
And,
new.
yeah.
Absolutely.
As I said, I was the first day I was there, what is this? Because I was all ready to move around and do my bit and thing, but then to project through expression and no movement, no sitting up and crossing your legs. But let's see how that works out, because it's a totally different thing. I mean, every day we are shown a different aspect of Zoom, like the set, the chair, the furniture, the costumes.
Oh, wow.
Every item of that is there. But how it's going to be used in Zoom is to be unraveled to us.
I also feel there are certain types of plays that one can do on Zoom, and there are certain plays that one just can't do as a limitation of the media. There's certain plays which do work well on the.
And which ones are those? How would you?
Well, vagina monologue, for instance.
Yeah, we did. In fact, right in the beginning,
Yeah.
we did a show of the vagina monologues on Zoom. Right in the beginning, at the beginning of the lockdown. It was
last March. It was.
yeah. It was a paid show. It was on Zoom. We didn't know how it would work, but we had around, I think, 200 people. And it was a ticketed show, and it worked. I mean, well, because after that there was that question, like a chat and a moderator kind of figuring it out, having a Q&A, and people loved it. So I think a vagina monologues works. There are some plays which work, and there are.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I guess 2-actor plays, 3-actor plays, monologues, these, or just like things that don't have a lot of physicality, etc.
Yeah, it's they kind of. So the choice of play during these times is important. Yeah.
So you started talking about a very interesting thing. So let's just veer into that a little bit. Ticketed shows online, because if we see, there've been a lot other kinds of dance performances and things like that. There've been a few of those ticketed ones. So what has happened with theater? Do you see that there might be a digital play somewhere, not a play, but like a digital path to the future, where you can have a lot more paid content, paid drama online? Is that a reality, or
I see it as a reality for lack of anything else.
Okay.
everybody's first choice, at least mine, would be to actually be there physically present and watch it. But for lack of anything else, this is the next best choice. And for a younger generation who have not been exposed to the kind of theatre that we've been exposed to, they very gladly would much rather sit at home and watch a play than to take a bus, get ready, dress, and go to the theatre.
Hmm.
Lack of tickets, lack of whatever, I mean, all that. So it's not bringing in full houses at the moment, but like 200 for Vagina Monologue, that's almost the maximum that we get at a number of our shows. Prithvi capacity is not more than that. And even the NCPA where we perform, because we don't perform in very big halls. So, it's working out, it would work very well for places like that. I don't know what it's going to be like for, say, something like a Kashiram Kotwal, which requires enormous sets and enormous costumes and lots of people.
Sure.
But I'm sure people are working towards that also. I know a lot of Marathi theatre is being done already.
Okay.
Marathi and Hindi. I mean, there's a lot of Hindi theatre on Zoom. Ritu mentioned Arun. What the name did you mention? In Delhi?
Arvind God.
He's doing a lot of plays on Zoom. Arvind God. And a lot of theatre activity is going on from Chandigarh, Neelam Mansingh. And you guys are not aware of all the activity there, but we have a group called the Theatre List. And it's amazing the amount of work that's coming out from South India, from Karnataka, from Kochi, from all over.
That's fantastic because it's been fertile, times, right? One has been less struggles have been there.
It's Aapda Mein Avsar.
Huh?
Aapda Mein Avsar.
Okay, that's the name of the play?
No.
No.
That's what Modi ji had once said.
Oh. Okay.
But
what has been your... Go ahead, Dilnaz.
No, I was just saying to add into, yes, I think a lot of smaller production houses, theatre, they are not able to sustain. So they're doing other things right now. Because there are so many of these smaller ones who are then not able to do, because not able to make any money out of it. In fact, just recently there was another play and the director happened to get a producer and they were like, let's do it online. But then the producer said, a lot of my audience is the NRI audience, the Indians abroad and stuff. And America, everything's, as Ritu was just mentioning, everything's open. So people are no longer that, they're starving, no longer starving for online work as they were the last year. So he was like, I won't be able to produce your online show right now. I think let's just scrap the idea right now. Because abroad, that audience for me is lost now. So it really varies on.
I think there is a little bit of a fatigue also. Last year when we went into lockdown, everybody was very positive. Now we're bruised and battered, losses, personal health, everything. And after a while, you can't sustain that same level of enthusiasm, etc., for a year. But I'll just like go away from the digital things a little bit. You were saying America, people do not from ages. You do Shakespeare in the Park, and now people are doing versions of performances on the streets, reclaiming public spaces. You can't go indoors. Don't go indoors. We'll perform outside. We'll reimagine everything, including men playing female parts and female, so they were taking classic, I saw Importance of Being Earnest, where tall 6 feet black men were playing the women parts and these delicate looking white women were playing the women parts, and they did it in Battery Park in Brooklyn, in the Brooklyn Park, where you can see the Statue of Liberty and we're just sitting in the grass and watching the play, and it's so again, you're trying to find out of this fatigue also, You're trying to find newer things, and that's something I think is missing in India, because we have such little connect with, such little access to public spaces in any case, you know. But if somebody could reclaim it, interestingly, you never know. Somebody out of sheer frustration might, you know. And like we've come up with Zoom. Who knew that we'll be rehearsing on Zoom and doing, you know, the entire you know, I mean, we would be flying from various parts of the country to do a webinar, you know, back in the day. But now we're here, all of us sitting in our pajamas in the bottom and makeup on top.
So,
So as I said, I'm acting in a play where I've got these actors from different parts of the country. You know?
Yeah.
There's no actor from Bombay. One's from Calcutta, one's from Trivandrum, one's from Bangalore.
And you're from Bombay.
I'm the only one
from
Bombay.
So what's next? Like, how does, like, what does the path to recovery look like, you think, in the theatre? And a path to recovery, both, like, from being able to be back in live spaces, and also, regain some of the support and the, like the sponsorship, which has been meager to begin with.
Look, theatre for the actors and actors of my ilk have never depended on theatre to sustain them. But for the younger ones, it is a profession that they're following, and it is something that pays their bills. Just as the lighting boy, the sound guy, the ironing chap, the makeup, all these people have suddenly been redundant. There's no work for them. And the theatre and the film industry had given them a livelihood, whereas now that has been deprived. But I think we will find our level. I am pretty optimistic about that. The human spirit is indomitable. It will prevail. And I think we will all, okay, you might not buy a BMW, but you will still have your little, whatever the equivalent of a Maruti comes along. Look at the Uber, how the Uber has replaced people owning cars and driving in their own cars because of the parking problem. I mean, I've sold my car, I don't have a car. And I take an Uber wherever I go. Now I'm going much less. There are no places to go to. Otherwise, I was at a theatre, either a film theatre or a theatre, every single evening.
Even after we got 3 back-to-back shows, let me just tell you the energy Dolly Auntie has. We've had like 3 back-to-back vagina monologue shows, and like we are like exhausted, and Dolly Auntie is dressing up out to go watch another film or go meet someone, and I'm like, wow, this energy is like,
Could all do with it, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, luckily we've got a set of people who are all like that. I mean, we have Ritu, who's looking gorgeous. Ritu, let me tell you how gorgeous you're looking. And is that America that's done it, or there are other reasons for it that happened?
Oh no, I've been tackling.
And Dilnaz, who I've known for years now, and from a model and an engineer to an actor, she has come a long way, and she's singing. She's also singing now. So, I mean, the changes that have taken place in women, in just ourselves. Look at yourselves. Every woman who's watching this, if they are honest with themselves and look deep into themselves, they will realize how much they have changed. And it will give them a lot of courage just to own up to the fact that, yes, there is a possibility of changing and of thinking differently. And in fact, I'm on a preview committee for some of the OTT films these days, and which includes all the serials. Yeah, amazing serials. the kind of work that's been done. Nobody thinks of Amir Khan, Amitabh Bachchan, Salman Khan for all of that. But the talent that is there, the production values, the costuming, the set, it's amazing. I'm very impressed with what I do. I watch about 14 hours of this television stuff every day.
Wow.
And, yeah, no, because it's part of
Right.
an assignment that I'm involved in. And I'm impressed with every single actor that is there. And they are not the old ones that one knew. None of the Fran and the Ompuris and the Avishpuris and that. So they're all young ones. They're fantastic actors.
Yeah, it's opened up.
OTT
So
has
what has been your experience with storytelling in the past year, but also with the OTT platforms and writing for them?
It's great because you get to tell the kind of stories that other mediums were not allowing you.
That's right. Yeah.
Film has its own economics, and television has its own you know
Sensibilities.
but and I've, like I said, I've written daily soaps, I have written feature films, I have written plays, I'm now writing OTT, and I happily flick between. I happily do it. It's all about getting that exciting project that's the next thing, or sometimes you just do it for money. But what OTT has done, like Dolly said, that it has opened up. You see so many actors, such wonderful actors. And for those of us who have been on this side of the spectrum, writing, producing, casting, you see same faces coming for auditions and coming to meet you in office and all, and there's nothing you can do for them in the moment. But with OTT, you see every one of them on screen. And more than, like, they don't have time now. I mean, that's such a great time to be in. Like, what a wonderful life we're all leading at the moment. I know that this last year and a half has been crazy, but I've been writing every day. In fact, 3 months in America, I was working India time. I would wake up at 4 in the morning and I would work India time because there was so much work happening. So touch wood, this is a great time for digital entertainment and everything. Live performance, like I said, that maybe there has to be something interesting has to come out. Like, I don't know what. I really don't know what, like whether it's performing in parks or doing an upgrade of a Nukkad Natak version, or going back to our theatre, Baul Ganer, and all of the street theatre roots, and starting from there. I don't know what, but you will see people are getting sick and tired of being indoors.
Engagement is.
And yes, absolutely. You see the joy. My God, on the day the mask mandate was taken away in America, the way people came out that weekend, the way it was just like they had been, and not disrespectful, and not all of it. I was in New York, so New York is a democratic state. It's so they were all being, it was not, nobody was being disrespectful, but it was just like, soaking it all in, because you haven't had it for a year and a half. And I do think that even pre-pandemic, theater was going through a little bit of a flux in terms of not enough money, not enough audiences and all. But I do really think that it'll come back with a bang, because people will be dying to leave their chairs and their sofas and their Zoom screens, and be dying to get out there and meet people one to one. Like, children, I'm sure, are wanting to go back to school. They haven't seen their friends. They've been living with their human adults for a while. I think that, I really am hopeful that, when we are out of this, we'll truly, like, it'll be like a revenge, like we need to make up for lost time kind of a thing. At least I hope so.
There's a three-dimensional, like sort of, I guess, excitement and energy, and a 360-degree, like view that you don't get, right? Like, if you're there in front of a digital screen, and that.
But I also feel that it will take time, because even in Jan, Feb, when the theaters did open, they did open at 50% capacities. So a lot of the producers of theater were not able to churn out anything new.
Okay.
Even though they had new plays and they had writers, and I was like, why don't we do something new? They were like, we can't afford it, because at 50% we are not making anything. So we have to do our old plays that we've been doing for a while. We have to do only like 4-actor plays, because I have a producer who tends to do 18-actor, 20-actor plays with a lot of physical movement. This Foizeh Jalali. And she's like, Dili, I can't do it because how do I pay so many actors? How do I make the money? So I feel even when we do open, I'm assuming they'll open at 50% and slowly, move on to a full. But I think it will take time again to, that transition phase, and we'll have to give it for us to then churn out new stuff. And I mean, unless, as Ritu says, in here we explore open places and parks, and I don't know. I mean,
it's a hope. I mean, I've just seen it there, and so you kind of get inspired.
I am very impressed with the content that has changed as a result of this. Amazing content has been introduced onto the screen.
Yes.
And that is liberating a lot of people's minds. It's giving them, ideas. I'm very impressed with that. So hopefully it will continue.
There's a little honesty and rawness to the stories, right? Like, and it's very sweet.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, well, we've had a fantastic discussion. I know we could go on forever, but as we and there were many questions that I had that I think we never spoke. So maybe another conversation another time. It would be fantastic to have all of you back onto this platform. But as we end, I think because we are a part of Women Inspiring Network, it would be good to hear from each one of you. Two things. One is people who are aspirants in the creative fields, aspirants into theater, writing, or content. Your message for them, and your message for women and young women in general.
Well, I'd like to say, be brave, have courage, believe in what you're doing, don't be put down. Go ahead, the world is yours.
Well, she said it all.
Yeah, but your mantra, Ritu.
Yes, you have to be brave, and you have to be open to understanding that you may not do well in the terms defined by the public, the society, your parents, as compared to your friends. It's not easy when you see your banker friends and your corporate friends do well. These are people who you've grown up with, and you have to there's still a little way for you to go, to be able to at least even reach a place where you can sit at the same table with them as adults. And that happens when you're in the arts. But it's to be able to consistently work, uh, you have to keep up the passion, and you have to keep up the energy with every project, right? And what we don't talk about is that after every play or every film or every show, there's a big fat zero. We hardly have residuals in this country. We barely have copyright laws in this country. So once our show or film or play is over, it's over. We have to move on to the next thing. So you have to keep the self motivation levels have to be something else only. But and of course, with like Dolly said, you have to be brave. There's a whole world out there. While the big boys like Mr. Khan's and Kumar's have been sitting inside because nobody's going to film theaters, the women of Netflix, Shishti, and Aparna of Amazon and Ekta Kapoor have been ruling the roost and have been keeping the entertainment business running. I really am not. I'm not being glib about it. Genuinely, these OTT platforms are mostly being spearheaded by women, and let the big boys come back with their films. But we've got this covered. There's just so much happening, and just get on it.
Fantastic. Dilnaz?
I just like to say that keep at it. There will be good days and there will be bad days, and especially as creative people, we are more sensitive. I mean, I'm not saying other people are not sensitive, but there is a sensitive nerve in us that is a little more enhanced. So just go through with it, just fight it, let the bad days be there, accept them, and then you will go to there will be ups and downs, just keep at it. Just believe in yourself and believe in the universe and just keep going.
Fantastic. I think as a creative person, you're really an entrepreneur and the CEO of your own life every day, every project, right? And that's really like, how you proceed. It's really been fantastic talking to all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And with that, I would love to say thank you, and we'll see you again.
Okay.
Thank you.
Amrita, I'd love to know how many women have actually been inspired by what they've heard this week.
I will see if we can get some comments from people.
Please do, yeah.
Share them with us.
Yeah,
Please do.
will do. Will do.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you
so much. Bye bye.
Thank you. Love to all. Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
See you all soon.